Hi, it's Sandy Parker, and welcome to Crafting for Almost Everyone. Well, you know how you go in the Dollar Tree and you see these things and you think to yourself, well, geez, isn't that cute for a little kid? And it is cute for a little kid, but I started thinking about, that's kind of cute for Sandy. And what you do is you color it. And, well, geez, I can color. So you're supposed to take this lining out and wash it. Obviously, that's the important part. Then you take out this inner liner and it becomes your template. You're going to trace your template onto a piece of paper, and I'm using just regular typing copier paper. And I'm going to get rid of this now because I traced it. Then I'm going to cut this out. It's all ready to go. So all you do now is, I'm going to see which side doesn't have any schmutz on it. This side has a little bit of gunk on it because, my board isn't as clean as it could be. And now I'm going to decide what I want to put on. I'm going to do it on the MISTI because why not? That makes more sense than trying to stamp different images on it. I'll just set it on the MISTI in the direction it's supposed to sit. And then I'll just put I'll put it up against the base like that. And I'll make sure that the bottom, this part, is touching. I like to have as much of it, as much of it lining up against corners as I can. Excuse me. So in the event it does move, and hopefully it won't, but if it does move, and sometimes it does, if it does move, at least we'll have it up against some corners that I can jam it back into. So with that being said, let's look at the set we're going to be using. It's called Lots of Pots. As I said, it's about a teapot, and I've already cut out my pots, and Aileen tacked them down, and now I'm just going to decide where I want them. For now, I'm just going to put that in the center. And then there are these teacups that are really, really cute. I just couldn't decide about where I wanted to put things. Maybe I'll put that over there and put the cups beside it like that. Don't forget, we're going to be filling these with flowers, so they might look down, like they're too far down on the design, but I don't really think they will be in the end. Cross your fingers that they won't be. And I thought about masking and putting a design behind them. I still haven't ruled that out yet. If you've never seen me make a mask before, it's relatively an easy process. This is actually Post-it note. It's a roll of Post-it note paper, which makes it really easy. And I'm just going to lay down a little strip of it like that and rip it off. And then I'll just take some Tuxedo Black and hold on, I need to lay it on this. I completely forgot the point of the MISTI, and now I'm back. Sometimes it just is a mystery to me what I'm doing. So you stamp your image. It doesn't matter how great a job you do stamping your image. It's just so you can see it. Then I'm going to put my ink back. Then you take that back off. The image is set, so now all you do is you're going to cut it out. Okay, so I've put my pot and my cups inside the MISTI, and I did stamp them once, which I didn't intend to do, but I thought the black was off of it, but it wasn't, and so now I'm living with trying to figure out if I can make this thing line up again. If I can't, then we're probably going to have to go with, sorry, I'm going to have to move this a little bit. I might have to go with plan B and fake it. So let's see if I can line that up enough. Well, we're going with it. I'm going to stamp it with some Memento Tuxedo Black for these pieces. That's what I used originally, and I guess I'm going to stick with it. And then we're going to mask around it afterwards. And you might be saying to yourself, gee, Sandy, I thought the point of these is that I didn't have to mask. Well, that is true, but I'm going to mask a background around the whole setting. Oh, look, they were good enough. perfect. Let me do that one cup. I didn't do a good enough job of inking the cup. I'm going to ink the pot again. Just ink it all one more time and make it a little bit darker. Hopefully. That one cup. So, we've done that. Now, the plan is, since we have that in place, the plan is now I'm going to make this my background stamp. So here's how you do it. You take your masks that you cut out. Remember, all you do is you stamp it again on something that's a Post-it note. And in the case of this one, my Post-it note is at the top. The bottom is not got a Post-it note on it. And then with my cups, I cut around some of the cups so that my design would go between the cups, but not I didn't cut them off from each other. I guess I decided that I like the look of the cups connected together, and if this makes it a fail in the end, then I learned a valuable lesson, right? But they are all one stamp, and I guess I want to keep them all one mask. I need to pull this back up because it's lined a little bit off. My last little cup. I'm gonna disconnect those two cups because they're not working anyway. For some reason they weren't lining up right, so I'll just put my mask. Because this is all masking tape, it doesn't matter. It all sticks down. Okay, now I'm going to have to try and figure out a way to keep my paper in the right place because, oh no, I know what I'm going to do. Never mind. Had a moment there. I'm taking it out of the MISTI for this part because I'm going to stamp, I'm going to put it on to this, on this. I'm flipping it over and I'm going to go like this across it, and then I'm going to move it and do it again. Yeah, I know what you're thinking, Sandy, that doesn't seem like something you're capable of doing. You're right. It probably isn't. I will probably make this into a horrible mess, but we will never know until I try it, right? And I picked a pretty light color. I'm going with Desert Sand. It's one of the dewdrops. And I figured, well, if I go with a really light background, and this pattern I think is called a Harlequin. It's an old Stampin' Up pattern, and I don't see the name on it, but I do think it's called Harlequin. It's diamond design. We're living on the edge and trying this. And I'm going to stamp this way. Hope for the best. You hold it down with one hand, and you rub it across your stamp, making sure when you get to the images that you have masked that you really push around them, because you don't want to screw that up. I left the mask on the pot, the coffee or the teapot, because I figured if I didn't, my flowers wouldn't show up. And oh, it's cool. It is very cool. I'm happy about that. Now we have to just figure out how to get it to line up for the other half, right? Don't think about it. We're not thinking about that. It was just a very subtle background I was going for. Remember, this is a present for me. I'm making it all for myself. It's not like I'm going to give it to anybody. So if it turns out kind of ugly, I can live with it. I'm all board. I'm on board with that. That's what I'm saying. I'm on board. Okay. So let's see if I can line it up enough. How to do it. All right, there is one of my endpoints. I'm going like that. Okay? You with me on that? If it's ugly or if it overlaps, like I said, the color is very subtle. It shouldn't be that big of a deal. And look. Look how good. I know what you're thinking. It's a miracle. Maybe you're not thinking that, but I think I was. Okay, here is my pot. I have unearthed it. Hold on, I'm going to just put it in the MISTI so I don't forget about it, because we are basically done with the MISTI now. And I'm going to take my 3 little cups and put them inside too, so I don't lose them, because, you know, they are so teeny tiny. I thought I'd zoom in a little bit more for this part, because this is where I'm going to be doing some coloring. And I'm just going to take my ink that's in the lid here and put my blender pen in there, and start at the top where I think it would be the darkest, and kind of do that part first, and then work my way down my pot. You never know when you're doing something like this exactly where you're going. Well, at least I don't. Exactly where I'm going with the project until I get into it, and then I start getting kind of into the flow of it, and I start seeing where I think flowers would go better, and you just kind of, I don't know. I think it's easier as you go versus right up front having a plan. I'm not good at that. I'm more of from Pretty Woman, I'm more of a fly by the seat of my pants kind of girl. I don't do a good job of planning these things out well. So I would recommend, if you're a planner, that you plan the stamps you want to use for sure, and the colors you want to use for sure. What I do is I get out a range of colors and a range of stamps, and I just go from there. That was gray flannel, and this is London Fog. I thought this was the lighter of the two, but I don't think it is. Maybe it is. And anyway, that's how I do it. I just try to make sure that in the end I'm happy with what I've produced by virtue of my non-plan. If you have if you're good at planning, boy, I wish I was more like you. I just am not. I plan other things, but when it comes to things like this, I'm not a good planner. I'm going to get a little piece of acetate if I can figure out where I shoved it. I got one of my acrylic blocks, and I'm just going to, we're going to have to fix that later. I just dropped that ink pad right there. We'll fix that later. Come on, we can do it. Maybe I can't. Anyway, I think planning projects like this is really great if you're good at it, but as I said, I'm not. And now, because I just dropped that, now I have to come up with a new plan, and that is, how am I going to make that look like it's not crazy, because it's got a little tear shape in the middle of my project. We're not going to worry about it, right? What's the point of worrying about it? So that's where I'm going to go for now with those pieces. I think I'm going to just smear my ink pad, we'll call my ink pad, my acrylic block, onto that piece of paper, and then that'll kind of clean it off, and then I can use it for another color. So still have to think about what I'm going to do to fix that little faux pas. So we're done with the grays. I don't think we're going to need them anymore. And now I think we're going to move on to Espresso Truffle, and this is what we're going to do our branches with. And our branch is called a Sprig Crackled, and I know you've heard this a million times, but I'll tell it to you again. They have a line on these Rubber Stamp Tapestry peg stamps that are lovely. The line tells you this is the bottom of the twig. Use it so that you know exactly where your twig ends. It's genius, and I just can't understand why every stamp doesn't have something like that to help me, because I'm not great with that. And so now that I have the ability to be able to figure out exactly where I'm going with something like this, it just is nice, because it makes it so that you know exactly where you're supposed to start, and you roll with it. And I love it. So I just stamp those around. Those are my branches. You want to start next with your bigger piece, or your bigger stamp. I'm smearing that off, and I'll clean it in a minute. Oh, if you didn't see my storage system before, I have this they're stars. It's an ice cube tray, and when I'm going to do a project, I pull out a bunch of stamps that I think I might use, and I put them in here so that the photo of the stamp is face up, so I know right away which ones are what, and then I can easily just go to the one I want. And that makes it so much easier for me. I'm not really good at figuring things out any other way. So my friend Elizabeth told me I needed an organizational system because I had things rolling around too much, and so thankfully she did help me with that idea, and I was able to come up with my own plan from there. I'm going to use some oranges on this one because I thought it would be pretty, and this is Potter's Clay, and Morocco and Tangelo is my lightest color. So I'm going to start with the darkest of the three, and I'm going to be using a dogwood cluster that's called open, and that means that the flowers on it are open so you can kind of see inside the flower. And I'm just going to stamp those on the biggest one of these, maybe one in my little maybe I'll do one on each one. I think that's too big for those. If I hadn't put the branch in there, I think I could have made these work on that, but I just don't know. Okay, I'm putting more oranges on that one, and then I'm going to color them in with the lighter oranges. With me? Okay, I'm going to clean off, well, just kind of smear that one off for now. Then I think I'm going to go to this one, which is called a Dianthus Solid Left. And I'm going to change my color, and I'm going to go with the Tangelo and see how it looks with the Dianthus, and see if I can, oops, stamp on something else. I'm also going to be using some yellows in this, so that just so that we have a little bit of variety in my coloring. Maybe red instead. I haven't decided. Reds, yellows, I don't know. I like the oranges. I think this Dianthus looks nice. And if you didn't figure out what I'm doing right now, I'm trying to hit all those limbs with my Dianthus so that each limb has a little bit of flower action going on it. Another one right there. And maybe another one right there. And if you hold it in exactly the same spot, that line, you can stamp the same exact place, exactly the same stamp in the same spot over again. So if you missed and only got part of a flower, if you hold that line in the exact same spot in your hand, you can restamp it. And I love that about these stamps. I mean, love that about those stamps. It makes me happier than happy can be, because I am clefted and make these mistakes all the time. Okay, so my battery went dead, and I hope you didn't miss too much of my exciting stamping, but I just was going on to a piece called, or stamp called Berries 6 on a Stem, and I'm trying to figure out where I put my scissors. I see I have an edge on this stamp that I think I'm going to end up having a little bit of the edge of the stamp show. So all I do is just take my Tim Holtz scissors and just kind of whack the edges off, and that will help you with any stamp that you ever have. If you get an edge that shows, if you get a weird little line that you don't want when you stamp, that is how you get rid of it. You just stamp it or cut it off. Again, I'm going to worry about that line because I want to make sure my berries end up in a cool place. See, it's still got line. I cut it wrong. I didn't cut it. I knew I had a piece I needed to cut off. Okay, I fixed it. No worries. I'm going to put that piece right there. I'm not loving this red. I decided to jump into the Stampin' Up red. This is called Real Red. The Ladybug red didn't do it for me. It just wasn't. It's too pink of a red, and when you're doing oranges, you don't want pink, is what I'm saying. Much better. I'm going to put another one of these stems in here and kind of cover that up if I can. Put some in here. And put another one right there. Keeping it all times, keep in mind where you have that line. If that line is lined up properly, you will have lovely work every time, and you'll never be going, oh geez, what am I doing wrong? if you think you're doing something wrong, probably what you're doing wrong is you have this, you're not lining up you're not worrying about your line. That there. Okay, now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my blender pen, and I think I'm going to use maybe I use that Morocco. I'm going to branch into these again. I'm going to go with pumpkin pie. That is a Stampin' Up ink that I really like, and it's kind of burnt orange, and maybe some melon mambo, but I like this orange. It might be a little bit darker than than the oranges I was using, but we're gonna give this a little shot too. Put a little bit on my pen, and I'm gonna color in a little bit of these flowers that we stamped before. Just gonna put a little bit of orange in there. Not sure it's enough orange, so I think I'm going to put a little red in there too, or maybe some yellow. Remember that fly by the seat of my pants kind of thing. Right now I'm just rubbing a little of this orange around so that I have some in each of my flowers, in the bigger flowers. And as I said, I can always go back. The other thing I'm going to do at some point, I think, is I'm going to stamp some pattern onto the front of my pot, because I think my pot needs a little something. Let's see how this orange looks with it too. Not enough of a color differential, so I think I'm going to maybe go with that cantaloupe instead. I'm going to pump, because my blender pen needs scribbled off. I don't feel like scribbling it off, so what I'm going to do instead is just go back to my little acrylic block with a little of that cantaloupe, and I'm going to put some dots of this cantaloupe in just to get a little bit more of my color going on in there. I forgot to scribble it off, so it kind of looks weird orange, weirdly orange. And I'm just going to put dots, because I want some color. I might go with a brighter yellow yet. Let's put the leaves in, and then I can, like, get over my angst that I've got going on right now. I think I'm going to use this, which is a foliage leaf, and I'm going to use, I'm getting this out of the way. I'm going to be using this color green, which is Olive Grove. I think it looks nice when you're doing leaves. And again, line up your little marker. And I'm also going to do different greens. I'm going to do some in this green and then some in the other green that I have, because I think it looks better. I'm turning this too. I think it always looks better if you have just a little bit of variation in your greens when you're doing leaves. And if you know my system, I normally like to have a little bit of brown in my leaves, because I think leaves in general have brown on them. Just the way I envision it, but I think leaves have brown on them. Okay, now I'm going to change off and go to New Sprout, which is a lighter green. And I'm going to scribble my stamp. And this is a new sprout. Maybe I'll do a new leaf. I have a different leaf. I'm going to do a different leaf too. Why not? I'm changing leaves. Now I'm doing a strawberry leaf, although we are not doing any strawberries. I'm not leaf phobic. Too light. Too light of a green. Going to another green. Hold on. We're checking out some northern pine. Oh my god, that touched it too. Oh, for gosh sake, now I have two of those. Two of those little marks on there. I'm not going to think about it. What's the point of thinking about it? It's everywhere now, right? Okay. I think I need something a little bit more yellow in this, but we'll worry about that in a minute. I'm going to throw in a couple more of these leaves. Right there, I need one. Okay. my unhappiness level could not be much higher because I've screwed this up so much. I'm going to put in one of these little branchety things with the olive grove. I'm going to have it go down over the side of my big pot because I like to make it look like my pots have things coming down over the side. I might not even have to do anything with that. I don't think I will, because once I do enough of this, no one will even notice that I don't have anything decorating it. Smart! Well, or not thought out at all. We're going with that one probably. Let's see, I'll put one right there. What to do with this mess down here? Maybe washi tape. I'm going to go with one more of the Stampin' Up colors. This one's called Daffodil Delight. And I'm going to put some more yellow in it, but I'm going to do it with this teeny tiny flower that's called a pinwheel flower. And I just want to drop in a few of these just to get a little bit of yellow around. You can barely even see these. I mean, really, you can barely see these. But the reason I like to do this is because if you have a spot where you just don't know what's going on in it, or it's just a little bit blank, or you need to round something a little bit, it's nice to have a little stamp like this that fills the spot and makes it look like you've planned it the whole time. Okay, so I put some washi tape across the bottom to cover up those little boo-boos, and hopefully they won't be noticeable once we put the mug together. So then all you're going to want to do is you're going to want to put your paper together. You're going to put it inside the cup and try to line it up with the washi as best you can. Then you're going to put the cup inside like that. You're going to screw it together, and there you go. I think it really came out cute. I think it's something that you could make for anybody, but of course this one's for me, and I really hope that you'll give this one a try. It's $1 and a little bit of paper and some stamps. It's a great project. Fun for you, fun for your whole family. I hope you'll give it a try. Please give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and let me know if you give it a try. I'd love to hear all about your project as well. Thanks so much for watching. Bye-bye.